Corporal One Park stood in the waiting room beneath the arena. His hands were steady as he checked his combat gear one last time. The room was cold, made of some alien metal that seemed to glow with a faint blue light. Through the thick walls, he could hear the sound of thousands of alien voices waiting above. He was about to fight for the survival of 3 human colonies. His family lived on one of them. His parents, his younger sister, and thousands of other families who had done nothing wrong except try to build a new life among the stars. Now the Empire wanted to take those worlds away. One was a soldier. He had trained for 15 years with the Earth Defense Force. He had served in conflicts across the Outer Rim. He knew how to fight, how to survive, how to win, but he had never faced anything like this. The door opened with a hiss. General Song entered, his face serious. Behind him was Captain Min, the diplomatic liaison. "Are you sure about this?" General Song asked. His voice was quiet, almost sad. One nodded. "Someone has to do it, sir. The diplomats tried, they failed. This is the only way." "You'll be fighting Commander Vila," Min said. He pulled up a holographic display. A towering figure appeared in the air between them. She was massive, easily 7.5 feet tall. Her skin was a deep violet color marked with silver patterns that looked like lightning across her arms and shoulders. Her eyes were bright yellow, fierce and proud. "She's the champion of the Empire, undefeated in 47 matches. She's killed 12 opponents. The others yielded before death." One studied the image. Vila looked like something from an ancient Earth myth. Amazonian didn't even begin to describe it. She was pure warrior, from her powerful frame to the way she held herself in the recordings. Every movement showed confidence, strength, and complete certainty in her superiority. "She's fought species twice her size," Min continued. "She's fought opponents with natural weapons, with advanced technology, with psychic abilities. She's beaten them all." "I know," one said. He had spent the last 2 weeks studying every recording of her fights. He had watched her tear through opponents, had analyzed every move, every technique, every pattern. "I've seen her files." "Then you know this is suicide," General Song said bluntly. One looked at his commanding officer. "With respect, sir, I don't think so. She's strong, she's fast, she's skilled. But she fights the same way every time. She has patterns. She expects her opponents to be afraid." "Because they should be," Min muttered. "Maybe," one said. "But fear makes you predictable. I'm not going in there to be afraid. I'm going in there to win." General Song studied him for a long moment. Then he placed a hand on one's shoulder. "Your family will be proud of you. Win or lose, you're the bravest man I know." The words settled over one like a weight. He thought of his father working the fields, his mother teaching at the small school, his sister dreaming of becoming a doctor. They didn't know he was here. They didn't know their world hung in the balance of this single fight. Maybe that was better. A loud gong echoed through the building. It was time. One walked through the corridor toward the arena entrance. His footsteps echoed in the silence. He could feel his heart beating, steady and strong. Fear tried to creep in, but he pushed it away. Fear was useless now. All that mattered was the fight. The entrance opened, and bright light flooded in. One stepped into the arena. The roar of the crowd hit him like a physical force. The arena was enormous, easily 500 meters across. Thousands of aliens from dozens of species filled the stands, their voices creating a wall of sound. He saw the floating lumens, the massive and countless others. All of them were here to watch him die. The arena floor was smooth stone, marked with a large circle. Coalition rules said the fight had to stay within that circle. Step outside and you forfeit. Get knocked outside and you lose. It was simple, brutal, and final. Across the arena, another entrance opened. Commander Vila walked out, and the crowd went wild. She was even more impressive in person. Her violet skin seemed to shimmer in the arena lights. She wore minimal armor, just enough to satisfy the rules, showing the powerful muscles of her arms and legs. Her silver markings seemed to glow. In her hand, she carried a long staff, her weapon of choice. She walked to the center of the circle and planted her staff in the ground. Then she looked at one, and her eyes widened slightly. For a moment, she just stared. Then she laughed. It wasn't cruel laughter. It was genuine amusement, almost disbelief. She said something in her own language, and the translation came through the arena speakers. This is what humanity sends, this small one. One walked forward. He was 5'10", maybe 170 pounds. Next to Vila, he looked like a child. He could see the pity in her eyes now, mixed with confusion. "I am Commander Vila of the Empire," she said, her voice carrying across the arena. She spoke the common coalition language now. "I have defeated 47 champions. I offer you mercy, human. Yield now, and I will make your death quick and painless." The crowd quieted, waiting for his response. One stopped at the edge of the circle. He looked up at Vila, meeting her yellow eyes with his own dark ones. When he spoke, his voice was calm and clear. "I am Corporal One Park of Earth. I didn't come here to die. I came here to win." The crowd murmured. Some laughed. Others seemed shocked by his confidence. Vila's expression changed from pity to something else. Interest, perhaps, or maybe curiosity about how quickly this tiny human would break. "Bold words," she said. "I respect courage, but courage alone will not save you." "We'll see," one said. The High Arbiter, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline form, floated above the center of the arena. Its voice echoed without need for speakers. "The challenge has been made. The rules are set. Combat begins when the gong sounds. Victory comes through yield, incapacitation, or death. Let all witness that this is done according to coalition law." Vila pulled her staff from the ground and took a ready stance. Every muscle in her body tensed, coiled like a spring ready to release devastating force. One settled into his own stance. Years of training took over. His breathing slowed. His mind cleared. He had studied this moment for 2 weeks. He knew exactly what would happen next. The gong sounded. Vila charged forward with incredible speed, her staff raised high for a devastating overhead strike. The kind of attack that had ended dozens of fights in seconds. The kind of attack that could shatter concrete and bend steel. One watched it come. He saw the pattern he had studied. He saw the opening he had waited for. And he smiled. The staff came down where one had been standing a fraction of a second before. The stone cracked under the impact, sending chips flying. But one wasn't there anymore. He had moved at the last possible moment, using Vila's own momentum to slip past her guard. As he moved, his hand shot out and struck her wrist, right on the nerve cluster. It was a precise hit, the kind that took years of practice. Vila's grip on the staff loosened for just a moment. It wasn't enough to make her drop the weapon, but it was enough to surprise her. Vila spun, faster than something her size should be able to move. Her staff swung in a wide arc meant to catch one in the chest. He dropped low, feeling the weapon pass inches over his head. The wind from its passage ruffled his hair. He rolled forward, came up inside her reach, and struck twice. Once to the ribs, once to the knee. Both hits were solid, both targeted weak points he had identified in his research. They wouldn't hurt her much, but they would add up. Vila stepped back, her yellow eyes wide with surprise. In 47 fights, no one had landed hits this early. No one had moved with such precision against her. "You're fast," she said. There was respect in her voice now, but also determination. "But speed alone won't save you." She attacked again, this time with a combination she had used in at least 20 of her previous fights. Staff strike high, then low, then a sweeping kick. It was effective, proven, devastating to most opponents. One had watched that combination 100 times. He knew it was coming before she even started. He blocked the first strike, deflected the second, and jumped over the third. As he jumped, he twisted in the air and landed with both feet on her staff, using it like a stepping stone to launch himself up. For a moment, he was eye level with Vila, and he saw the shock on her face. Then he struck her directly in the face with his palm, a technique designed to stun rather than injure. Vila staggered back, more from surprise than pain. Blood ran from her nose, bright purple against her violet skin. She touched it, looked at her fingers, and then looked at one with new eyes. The crowd was going wild now. Voices from dozens of species created a wall of noise. No one had expected this. No one had thought the human would last 30 seconds, let alone land hits on the undefeated champion. Vila wiped the blood from her face. When she spoke, her voice was different. The pity was gone, so was the casual confidence. Now she sounded focused, serious, like a true warrior facing a real challenge. "I underestimated you," she said. "I won't make that mistake again." She came at him again, but this time it was different. She abandoned the traditional fighting forms. Instead, she attacked with raw speed and power, using techniques one hadn't seen in any of the recordings. She was adapting, learning, changing her strategy in real time. One found himself on the defensive. Vila's staff became a blur of motion, striking from every angle. He blocked what he could, dodged what he couldn't, and took hits when he had no other choice. Each impact felt like getting hit by a metal pipe. His arms went numb from blocking. His ribs screamed in pain. He couldn't win a straight fight. She was too strong, too fast, too skilled. Every second of this battle proved that. But he didn't need to win a straight fight. He needed to be smarter. One let himself get pushed back toward the edge of the circle. Vila pressed her advantage, thinking she had him trapped. Her attacks came faster, harder, more aggressive. She was going for the finish now. That's what one had been waiting for. When someone attacks with everything they have, they leave themselves open. It's a basic principle of combat. Attack means exposure. The trick is surviving long enough to see the opening. Vila's staff came down in a powerful overhead strike, the same move she had started the fight with. This time, one didn't dodge. He stepped into the attack, taking it on his shoulder instead of his head. The pain was incredible, white-hot and blinding. He felt something crack, but it got him where he needed to be. Right in front of Vila, inside her guard, too close for her to use the staff effectively. His hand shot out, fingers rigid, and struck her throat. Not hard enough to crush, but hard enough to make her gag and stumble. Then he swept her legs, using a judo technique combined with his last bit of strength. Vila fell. The massive warrior hit the ground hard, and the entire arena fell silent. One didn't stop. He couldn't. If he gave her time to recover, she would tear him apart. He dropped on her, using a grappling technique to pin one arm while his other hand found the pressure point near her collarbone. It was a nerve cluster unique to physiology, something he had discovered in medical texts most warriors never bothered to read. He pressed hard. Vila's eyes went wide. Her entire right side went numb, her arm useless. She tried to throw him off with her other arm, but he had positioned himself perfectly. Every time she moved, he adjusted, maintained the pressure, kept her pinned. "Yield," one said. His voice was tight with pain. Blood ran down his face from a cut above his eye. His shoulder was definitely broken. His ribs were cracked, but he held on. "Please, yield." Vila struggled for another moment. Then she looked at him, really looked at him, and something changed in her eyes. She saw not a weak human, but a warrior who had outsmarted her, who had studied her, understood her, and found a way to win despite impossible odds. She stopped struggling. Her left hand slapped the ground 3 times, the signal of surrender. The gong sounded. The High Arbiter's voice echoed across the silent arena. "The challenger is victorious. By the laws of the coalition, the disputed territories remain under human control." For a moment nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The entire arena seemed frozen in disbelief. Then one released the pressure point and rolled off Vila. He tried to stand, but his legs gave out. He fell to his knees, breathing hard, barely conscious. Vila lay on her back, staring at the sky above the arena. Her right arm was still numb. She could have continued fighting with her left, could have possibly turned the tide, but something had stopped her. Not fear of losing, not pain, something else. Respect. Slowly, she sat up. She looked at one, who was kneeling a few feet away, clearly barely able to stay upright. This small human had defeated her, had studied her so thoroughly that he knew her better than she knew herself, had fought with such intelligence and determination that he had found the one way to win. One looked at her, his dark eyes meeting her yellow ones. Then he did something that shocked her even more than the defeat. He extended his hand toward her. An offer to help her up, a gesture of respect from victor to vanquished. Vila stared at the offered hand. In culture, defeat was not shameful if the opponent had proven themselves worthy. And this human had proven himself worthy 100 times over. He had fought with honor, with skill, with a warrior's heart. She reached out and took his hand. His grip was weak, barely able to support his own weight, let alone help her. But the gesture mattered more than the strength. "What is your name?" she asked, her voice quiet enough that only he could hear. "One," he said, "Corporal One Park." "One," she repeated, the name felt strange on her tongue. "You fought well, you fought with honor." "So did you," he said. Medical teams were rushing onto the arena floor now. Human medics for one, medics for Vila. But for a moment, they just knelt there, looking at each other, while the crowd finally found its voice and erupted in chaos. Something had changed. Not just the outcome of a fight, not just the fate of 3 colony worlds, something deeper, something neither of them fully understood yet. Vila watched as the human medics helped one to his feet and began leading him away. He looked back once, meeting her eyes, and nodded. She touched her chest, where her heart was beating faster than it had in years, not from exertion, from something else entirely. The medical bay was quiet except for the soft beeping of monitors. One lay in the bed, wrapped in bandages, while a medical robot slowly healed his broken shoulder. 3 cracked ribs, a fractured wrist, multiple contusions, and a mild concussion. The doctor said he was lucky to be alive. He didn't feel lucky. He felt like he'd been hit by a transport ship. General Song and Captain Min had visited earlier, bringing congratulations and relief. The 3 colony worlds were safe. Earth's position in the coalition was stronger. One was being called a hero. But all he could think about was the look in Vila's eyes when she had yielded. A soft chime at the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he said, expecting another doctor or perhaps a coalition official. The door opened and Vila walked in. She wasn't wearing her armor. Instead, she wore traditional formal clothing, a flowing robe of deep blue marked with silver patterns. Her hair, which had been tied back during the fight, now fell loose around her shoulders. She looked different, softer somehow, but no less impressive. One tried to sit up. Pain shot through his ribs and he gasped. "Don't," Vila said quickly. She moved to his bedside with surprising gentleness. "You're injured, rest." "You're injured too," he said. He could see the bruises on her face, the way she favored her right arm, which was still recovering from the nerve strike. "Minor wounds," she said. "Nothing compared to what you suffered." She paused, seeming uncertain. It was strange to see someone so powerful looking uncertain. "May I sit?" "Of course." She pulled a chair close to the bed and sat down. For a long moment, she just looked at him, studying his face like she was seeing him for the first time. "Why did you help me up?" she finally asked. The question surprised him. Because the fight was over. You had yielded with honor. It seemed like the right thing to do. Most victors would have celebrated, would have stood over their fallen opponent and shown dominance. "I'm not most victors," one said. Vila's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. "No, you are not." She took a deep breath. "I came here to invoke an old law. Do you know what this means?" One shook his head. When a warrior is defeated honorably, they may claim the right to learn from their victor, to become their student, to understand what made them strong enough to win. She looked down at her hands. It is not done lightly. It means putting aside rank, pride, position. It means humbling oneself before the victor. You want to be my student? One couldn't hide his surprise. I want to understand how you defeated me, how you fought with such intelligence, how you saw things I could not see. She met his eyes. And there is more. In culture, warriors can only mate with those who defeat them or prove themselves equal. By defeating me, you have. You have claimed me by our laws. One felt his face grow hot. I didn't know that. I wasn't trying to. I know, Vila said quickly. This is not your culture. You cannot be held to laws you don't know. But I am telling you now because I want you to understand what I am offering. Vila, let me finish. She straightened in her chair and her voice became formal. I, Commander Vila of the Empire, Invoca. I ask to learn from you, to understand your way of fighting, your way of thinking. And I declare my intention to court you if you will have me. The room was very quiet. Somewhere outside one could hear voices, the normal sounds of a medical facility. But in this room, in this moment, there was only silence and the weight of what Vila had just said. I need to think, one said finally. Pain crossed Vila's face, but she nodded. Of course, I have shocked you, I should leave. No, one said. Stay, please, I need to understand something. Why me? You could defeat me in any other fight, we both know that. You're stronger, faster. I won because I surprised you, because I studied you, because I got lucky. You think it was luck? Vila leaned forward. You studied me for weeks. You learned my patterns, my weaknesses, things I didn't even know about myself. You found a way to win when everyone said it was impossible. That's not luck. That's wisdom. That's true strength. I fought for my family's colony, one said. For my people, I had something to fight for. Exactly. Vila's voice was intense now. You fought for something greater than yourself. For 47 battles, I fought for glory, for rank, for the empire. But you fought for love, for family. That's a strength I never understood until I faced you. One looked at her, really looked at her. This warrior who had seemed so fierce and untouchable in the arena now sat before him, vulnerable and honest. She had put aside her pride, her position, everything to come here and offer herself. It would be complicated. Their peoples had been enemies. There would be political consequences. Some would call it betrayal, others propaganda. The path forward would be difficult, maybe impossible. But when he looked at Vila, he didn't see an enemy. He saw someone who had honor, courage, and a willingness to change. Someone who could admit when she was wrong. Someone who could see strength in forms she had never considered before. I accept he said, but on one condition. Vila tensed. What condition? It has to be mutual. If you're going to learn from me, then I want to learn from you, not as master and student, as equals. Vila's eyes widened. That is not how it works. Then maybe it's time for a new tradition, one said. You said I taught you about wisdom and fighting for something greater, but you have things to teach me too. You're a skilled warrior. You have honor. You know things about combat, about strategy, about your culture that I need to understand. You want us to learn from each other. Yes. Vila was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly she smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine, and it transformed her face. You are unlike anyone I have ever met, one Park. Is that a yes? Yes. She stood, and in one fluid motion she knelt beside his bed. She placed her right hand over her heart, a gesture of oath. I, Vila, swear to honor this pact, to learn from you and teach you, to face the future as equals, whatever it may bring. One tried to sit up to match the formality, but his ribs protested sharply. Vila gently pushed him back down. Rest, she said. The oath doesn't require you to move. I, one Park, accept your oath, he said, and I swear to honor it as well. For a moment they just looked at each other. Then Vila did something unexpected. She reached out and gently took his hand in hers. Her hand was large, warm, strong. It completely engulfed his. "This will not be easy," she said quietly. "My people will be angry. Some will see this as betrayal. Your people may feel the same." "I know. And the courtship, that is a separate matter. You don't have to." "One step at a time," one said. "Let's start with the learning, the rest. We'll see where it goes." Vila nodded, but she didn't let go of his hand. The door chimed again. This time it was Captain Min, and his face was pale. Behind him were several human officials and, surprisingly, an officer. "We have a problem," Min said. "Commander Vila's second-in-command has arrived. He's demanding to see you both, he says. He says this is invalid. He's challenging its legitimacy." Vila stood, and suddenly she was the warrior from the arena again. Her voice was cold and hard. "Let him come. I will deal with." The officer stepped forward. She was nearly as tall as Vila, with darker purple skin and scars across her arms. "Commander Vila, I am Captain Jin, assigned to liaison duty. I must warn you, has support from in the Empire. This situation could become dangerous." "Let it," Vila said. She looked down at one. "We made an oath, I will not break it." One struggled to sit up, ignoring the pain. "Then we face it together." "You can barely move," Vila protested. "Doesn't matter," he said. "We're equals, remember. That means we face problems together." Vila looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled that warm smile again. "Yes, together." 3 months had passed since the fight. 3 months since Vila had sworn the oath. 3 months that had changed everything. One stood in the training room, breathing hard, sweat running down his face. His body ached in ways he didn't know were possible. Vila's training methods made human military exercises look like a vacation. "Again," Vila said. She wasn't even breathing hard. "I'm going to die," one gasped. "You're not going to die, you're going to get stronger." She walked over and handed him a water container. "You did well today. You lasted 3 minutes longer than yesterday." "Only 3 minutes." "Progress is progress," she smiled. Over the past months, one had learned that Vila smiled more than anyone would expect. She had a sharp sense of humor hidden beneath her warrior exterior. "Besides, tomorrow I want you to teach me that grappling technique again. The one where you use the opponent's weight against them." They had set up a joint training facility on Terminus 7, the neutral world where the fight had taken place. What started as just the two of them had grown. Other humans had volunteered to learn combat methods. Some, curious about the human who had defeated their champion, had come to observe and eventually to participate. It was becoming something bigger than either of them had planned, a real cultural exchange. "Come," Vila said, "we should eat. You need to recover your strength." They walked to the dining area, a simple room with tables and chairs sized for different species. It was evening, and most of the other trainees had already left. They sat together at a small table, and Vila produced a container of food she had prepared. "Is this?" One looked at the food. "I tried to make kimchi," Vila said. She looked uncertain. "I asked your mother for the recipe through the communication channels. She was very kind. She sent detailed instructions." One stared at her. "You contacted my mother." "Was that wrong? I wanted to understand more about your culture. Food is important to humans, yes." And she seemed happy to share. Vila paused. "She also asked many questions about me, very direct questions." One could imagine his mother was not subtle. "What kind of questions?" "About my intentions, about whether I was treating you well, about my family background." Vila's expression was serious. "I think your mother is a warrior in her own way." One laughed, which made his still healing ribs ache. "Yeah, she is." He tried the kimchi. It wasn't perfect, but it was surprisingly good. "This is really good, Vila." She smiled, clearly pleased. "I'm glad. I also made bulgogi, but I'm less confident about that one. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Over the past months, one had learned that Vila valued these quiet moments. Culture was loud, full of challenges and declarations, but here with him she could just be. I received a message from High Commander today, Vila said finally. She's coming here to evaluate the situation. One put down his chopsticks, was Vila's former mentor and one of the highest-ranking military officers in the Empire. That's not good. I don't know is pragmatic. She values results over tradition, but she's also concerned about the Empire's image. Vila looked at her food. She wants to know if I'm planning to return to my position or if I've abandoned my duties. Have you? I don't think of it that way. I'm learning, growing, becoming a better warrior and a better leader. She looked at him. But yes, I know I can't stay here forever. Eventually, I'll have to decide what comes next. The words hung in the air between them. It was something they had both been avoiding. This situation was temporary. At some point, real life would intrude. Vila would have to return to the Empire. One would be reassigned. The question of what would happen to them remained unanswered. "And your feelings?" one asked carefully. They had become close over the past months, but they hadn't really discussed the courtship aspect of the way. They had focused on training, on learning from each other, on building this program. But the attraction was there, unspoken but undeniable. Vila met his eyes. "My feelings haven't changed. If anything, they've grown stronger. You're intelligent, kind, determined. You make me laugh. You challenge me to think differently. She paused. You're everything I didn't know I wanted." One felt his heart beat faster. "I feel the same way." "But," Vila asked. She could hear the hesitation in his voice. "But I'm scared," he admitted. "This is complicated. We're from different worlds, literally. There are people who hate this, who want to see us fail, and I don't know if I'm strong enough to face all of that." Vila reached across the table and took his hand. "You defeated me in single combat. You're strong enough for anything." "That was different. That was just a fight." "This is also a fight," Vila said. "Just a different kind, and we don't have to fight it alone. We fight it together." Before one could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Emergency lights flashed red. They both stood immediately, training taking over. Captain Mint's voice came over the speakers. "All personnel, we have a security breach. Armed forces have entered the facility. This is not a drill." Vila's face went hard. "It has to be." They ran toward the main corridor. Other trainees were emerging from various rooms, confused and alarmed. Human security forces were mobilizing, but they were clearly outnumbered. In the main training hall, they found the intruders. 6 warriors in full combat armor, led by Commander. He was even larger than Vila, with dark purple skin and cold yellow eyes. "Vela," he said, his voice was filled with disgust. "This is what you've become, training these weak creatures, living among them like you're one of them." "You have no authority here," Vila said. She stepped forward, placing herself between the intruders and one. "This is a neutral world. You're violating coalition law." "Coalition law?" laughed. "You talk to me about law, you who have betrayed your people for a human." He pointed at one. "You let this thing defeat you. You swore yourself to it. You've brought shame to the entire empire." "I brought no shame," Vila said coldly. "I was defeated honorably. I invoked honorably. Everything I've done follows our traditions." "Traditions mean nothing when applied to lesser species," spat. He drew his weapon, a long plasma blade that hummed with energy. "But that can be corrected. I challenge the human. If I defeat him, Euro is void. You return with me and this embarrassment ends." "No," Vila said. "You don't get a choice," said. "It's coalition law. He must accept or forfeit." One stepped forward, ignoring Vila's attempt to hold him back. His body still ached from training. He wasn't at full strength, but he could see the situation clearly. If he refused, everything they had built would be destroyed. The exchange program, the growing trust between their peoples, all of it would end. "I accept," he said. "No," Vila protested. "You're not fully healed. You've been training all day. You can't." "I have to," he said quietly. He looked at her, trying to put everything he felt into that look. "Trust me." Smiled. It was a cruel smile, full of certainty. "Finally, we'll see the truth, that your victory was luck, that humans are as weak as we always knew." "There's one condition," one said. "When I win, you accept the lie. You accept that Vila and I have the right to continue this program, and you leave us alone." "When you win," laughed. "Very well, I accept, not that it matters. You won't survive the first minute." Vila grabbed one's arm, pulled him aside. Her eyes were fierce with worry. "Don't do this. Let me fight him, I can." "You can't," one said gently. "If you fight your own people for me, it will destroy everything. It has to be me." He touched her face. "Besides, you've been training me for 3 months. Don't you trust your own teaching?" "I trust you," she said. "But he's fresh and you're exhausted and he fights dirty." "Then I'll have to fight dirtier," one said. He smiled. "You once asked me how I fought with such intelligence. Time to show you I'm still learning." The others cleared a space, stepped into the center, his plasma blade casting an eerie glow. One faced him, unarmed, exhausted, outsized. But not outthought. "For Vila," he said quietly. And the fight began. Came at him with murderous intent. The plasma blade hummed through the air, leaving a trail of superheated light. One dove to the side, feeling the heat wash over him. The blade cut through the wall behind where he had been standing like it was paper. He couldn't match that weapon with his bare hands. He had to think. 3 months of training with Vila had taught him things. Not just combat techniques, but how thought. They valued directness, strength, overwhelming force, expected fear, expected retreat, expected weakness. One gave him something else. He charged forward, straight at. The larger warrior grinned and swung the blade in a wide arc, meant to cut him in half. At the last second, one dropped into a slide, using the smooth floor to carry him under the strike. He came up behind and struck at the back of his knee, a weak point in armor. Stumbled but didn't fall. He spun faster than one expected, the blade coming around in a backhand strike. One couldn't dodge completely. The plasma edge caught his shoulder, burning through cloth and skin. The pain was incredible, but he used it, let it focus him. First blood, laughed. This will be over soon. But one was already moving. He had learned from Vila that, despite their strength, had patterns. Even the way he favored his right side, the way he overextended on his strikes, the split-second delay when he prepared for a thrust. One used every lesson Vila had taught him. He combined human martial arts with strength techniques. He used the environment, grabbing training equipment and throwing it to create distractions. He stayed mobile, never letting pin him down. Minutes passed, was getting frustrated. This wasn't how the fight was supposed to go. The human should be dead by now. "Stop running," roared. "I'm not running," one said. "I'm thinking." He could see Vila watching, her fists clenched. He could see the other warriors looking uncertain. He could see human and trainees standing side by side, watching this fight that would determine so much. Charged again, putting everything into a devastating thrust. One had been waiting for this. He, at the last possible moment, and as passed, he grabbed the warrior's arm. Using his own momentum and a judo throw he had practiced 1,000 times, he flipped the massive onto his back. The impact knocked the wind from. The plasma blade skittered across the floor. One didn't go for the weapon. Instead, he dropped onto and did exactly what he had done to Vila 3 months ago. He found the nerve cluster near the collarbone and pressed hard. His right side went numb. His eyes went wide with shock. "Yield," one said. His voice was tight with pain from his burned shoulder. "It's over." "Never," snarled. He tried to throw one off with his left arm, but he was in a bad position, and one had learned from the best. He maintained the hold, adjusted his weight, kept the pressure on the nerve cluster. "You're beaten," one said. "You can accept it with honor, or I can hold you here until you pass out from the pain. Your choice." Struggled for another moment. Then his hand slapped the floor 3 times. The room erupted, not in violence but in cheers. Human and trainees alike were shouting, celebrating. The 6 warriors who had come with looked confused, uncertain what to do now that their leader had lost. One released the hold and stood up, swaying with exhaustion. Vila was there immediately, catching him before he fell. "You idiot," she said, but her voice was full of relief and pride. "You beautiful, brilliant idiot." Did I fight dirtier than him?" one asked. "Much dirtier," she said, smiling through tears. "I'm so proud." Slowly got to his feet, his right arm hanging useless. He looked at one with a mixture of shock and something that might have been respect. "You defeated me," he said slowly, "with the same technique you used on Vela." "It's effective," one said. "It's humiliating," said, but his voice had changed. The hatred was gone, replaced by thoughtfulness. "You fight like no warrior I've ever faced. You use intelligence where we use strength. You adapt where we charge forward." He looked at Vila. Perhaps I was wrong." Vila stepped forward. "Will you honor your word? Will you accept the and leave us in peace?" Was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "I will. You have both proven yourselves. The human has defeated 2 commanders. That is no small thing." He looked at his warriors. "We leave, and we tell the Empire what we witnessed here." As and his group departed, Captain Min approached with medical supplies. But before he could treat one's burn, more people entered the hall. High Commander, who had apparently been watching from the observation deck, General Song, other coalition officials. Walked straight to Vila. She was older than Vila, her skin a lighter shade of violet, with more silver markings showing her rank and experience. "So," said, "this is the human who has caused so much trouble." "Commander," Vila said formally, "I can explain." "No need," interrupted. She studied one who was trying very hard not to pass out. "I watched your fight 3 months ago, and I just watched this one. I see now what you saw in him." She turned to Vila. "You were my best student. I thought you had lost your way, but perhaps you found a new way instead." "I'm trying to," Vila said. "The Empire wants you back," said, "but they'll accept a compromise. You can continue this exchange program. You can continue your relationship with the human, but you'll also serve as a military liaison between our peoples. Use what you're learning here to help both sides understand each other better." Vila looked at one. He nodded, even though the movement made his shoulder scream in pain. "I accept," Vila said. General Song stepped forward. "The Earth Defense Force has a similar proposal for Corporal Park. We want him to co-command a joint task force with Commander Vila. If you're going to keep doing impossible things, we might as well make it official." One laughed, which was a mistake because everything hurt. "We accept." "Good," said. "Now someone treat that burn before he passes out." Later, after the medics had finished, after the officials had left, Vila found one alone in the medical bay. He was sitting up in bed, his shoulder wrapped in regenerative bandages. "You came very close to dying today," she said. "I know. Don't do that again." "I'll try not to." She sat on the edge of the bed, and for a moment they just looked at each other. 3 months of working together, training together, learning from each other. 3 months of growing closer, of understanding deepening. 3 months of falling in love, even though neither had said the words. "In human culture," one said carefully, "when 2 people want to spend their lives together, they make a formal commitment, a marriage." "I know," Vila said. "I've been studying your culture too. And in culture, you've already claimed me by defeating me in combat. Except I defeated you, so I guess technically I claimed you." "It's complicated," Vila said, smiling. Everything about us is complicated, one said. But I don't care. Vila, will you marry me? By both our cultures. Will you be my partner, my equal, my wife? Vila's eyes shimmered with tears. I thought you would never ask. She leaned down, carefully avoiding his injured shoulder, and kissed him. It was their first kiss, gentle and sweet and full of promise. Yes, one park. By both our cultures, by every culture in the galaxy, yes. The wedding took place a month later after one had healed. It was held on Terminus 7, the neutral world that had become their second home. They combined human and traditions, creating something new. One's family came, his mother crying happy tears at seeing her son alive and in love. Vila's mother came too, a retired general who looked at one with stern evaluation before finally nodding in approval. Friends from both species attended. Even came, standing in the back, his expression thoughtful. General Song officiated the human part of the ceremony. High Commander officiated the part. When it was done, when they had said their vows in both languages, when they had made their promises before two species, the room erupted in celebration. 5 years later, One and Vila stood on the bridge of the diplomatic ship Unity, looking at the stars. They were returning from a successful mission, another bridge built between species that had once been enemies. Their children were in the family quarters. Twin daughters Wu and, who had inherited their mother's strength and their father's quick mind. And a son, Yang, still a baby, who looked human but had his mother's violet eyes. Do you ever regret it, Vila asked, choosing this difficult path? One took her hand. After 5 years, her hand still made his look small, but it fit perfectly. Never, you. Never, she said. You taught me that true strength isn't just power. It's wisdom, compassion, understanding. It's fighting for something greater than yourself. And you taught me that honor and courage aren't bound by species, that love can cross any divide if we're brave enough. They stood together, watching the stars, while behind them on hundreds of worlds other humans and were learning the same lessons, learning to see each other not as enemies but as partners, as friends, as family. It had started with a fight, with a human soldier who refused to give up and an alien warrior who could admit she was wrong. It had grown into something neither could have imagined. A new future together.